Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Make More Money Now with Patti Pokorchak, the small biz sales coach, and Gerry Black, the marketing copywriter. He's all about words, and I'm all about putting those words into action. And today we have a really, really interesting episode because it's something that is vital because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And one way to show that trust is through testimonials, recommendations, the blurb that they give you at the end of a successful contract. So over to you, Gerry.
Patti, one of the biggest challenges for business owners when I talk to them is getting testimonials that actually have some selling power. And by that, I simply mean we've all looked at those testimonials out there where it says, boy, you know, Gerry was really nice. He showed up, his shirt was tucked in, and he was fantastic. And he did what he said he was going to do.
Oh,
right?
wow. Yeah,
So
really. Whoa. Excuse me.
I think
Yeah.
that's not exactly moving the needle stuff. So today what we're going to look at is address a couple of challenges for marketers. The first thing is you as a marketer want those testimonials because it's independent social proof that you can do the job, right? So that's very, very important, especially in this day and age when our prospects are jaded. They know that the charlatans and the pretenders are out there. So they're looking to be persuaded by something that isn't sales speak, if you will, for lack of a better word.
Well, that's why I like LinkedIn recommendations, because they're linked to a real person that you can see. I'll just give you an example. I was on another coach's website, and they said, oh my God, they had all their testimonials with, headshots and company name and what that person did. And because I'm me, I went, okay, are those businesses still, is that company still in business? And funny enough, not all of them were. And so I think it just, I'm sure at some point, but you got to make sure your testimonials are from people that are still in business, or else you kind of destroy your credibility in a way.
There are a number of other things as well, but that is certainly one of them. And it does happen from time to time that somebody goes out of business or goes into something else. Like, I mean, it can slip through the cracks, but it is a great bit of advice to kind of check those, because a lot of times they go on there years previously, right? And lots of things can happen. So it's a good idea to stay current. So the big thing is getting these testimonials. Historically, business owners, they'll ask for them, but they know sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get the client to respond or the customer to respond. The customer's busy. But one of the real issues is the customer doesn't really know what you want them to say. And so today what we're going to do is go through a little kind of primer that shows you how to tell them what you want them to say. I'm not talking about making it up or anything like that, but how to give them little checkpoints so that by their responses in note form, which is easy for them to do, you're going to get some actual quantitative points that are going to hammer home the benefits you deliver, as opposed to that fluffy stuff. And then the second part of it will be how you approach a client and to get a testimonial in such a way that the client goes, it's easy for them. So we're going to look at, first of all, what are the characteristics of a great testimonial? And then we're going to look at how do you go about getting them in a timely way, and of course testimonials that are meaningful.
That's right. One of my sort of bugbears too is when you get a testimonial that's like half a page long, and it's like, I'm not going to read that. And it's, to me, in my my mind, it's perfectly acceptable to edit out the punchiest sentence or two, because I think that's what's most important is scattered through your website, is to have that one sentence of Gerry's copy increased or decreased the bounce rate from that to that. Numbers really work. I mean, whether it's sales or marketing, but numbers work. And when it comes to credibility, how many leads did you bring in? What was the impact of the work, and put it in dollars and cents. Like it's
Yeah, and that's a great point. I don't think I cover this today in terms of actually writing the testimonials,
okay.
or creating them, but it's a good point. What I tend to do is I tend to have a little bit of unbolded copy before and a little bold copy unbolded copy after, kind of the main point I want to hammer home, because
Right.
that way, if you just bold that line, they can scan down and they stand out very clearly. So you want to bold the big benefit that you delivered, and set it up with a little bit of copy beforehand and
Hmm.
and after. So let's hop to it. I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay. You got some good notes for us
Yeah, this is
to
going to be a
follow.
little primer. Okay,
Okay.
so we're
Great.
going to first talk about what makes for a good testimonial. And this first one about being specific. When you talk about cutting heating costs, let's say by 50% or something like that, we've all been by the store where it's a sale up to 70%.
Up to, yes, it's the
You know,
fine print. Like
yeah, we don't
up
even,
to is
we
in
don't,
tiny font, right? Remember the,
yeah,
yeah, so the 70 is big, the up to is tiny. Yeah. And
yeah,
you go in, well,
we don't even pay attention to it. And so what you want to try and do is you want to try and be very specific with what you say the benefit was delivered. I have a sales letter, for instance, a sales letter testimonial on my site that says that I increased the response by 12.7%. That came from the client.
okay.
So that's a lot more compelling. It sort of suggests that some work was done
Yeah.
to arrive at that number. So we tune that out if it's just kind of a general number. But when you see the ABC planning system, for instance, saved me 7.5 hours the first week I used it. Well, that is something that you can get your head around. That
Mm,
seems like something that could have
yeah.
happened.
Well, that's like a whole day, like 7.5
Yes,
hours. I mean,
yes.
if we're employees, that's what we get paid. That's a whole day saved. Like
Yeah,
that's
and
huge.
it absolutely, and that makes the person reading it think. We think, as you know, in terms of pictures.
Yeah.
So they think about what could I do with that 7.5 hours.
Wow.
If I used, got that kind of gain. So the next thing is they focus on one benefit, and often what happens is you'll see like they did this, they did that, they did this, they did that. Well, after a while it's just kind of all watered down and it's nothing specific. Now, one of the things that I teach my clients is when you put testimonials anywhere and you use them in quantity, always try and select testimonials or maneuver yourself into position to select testimonials that offer different benefits of what you deliver. And the reason for that is people buy for different reasons. I've asked my clients before, what is the big benefit you get? Well, some of them it's time saver. They could do a lot of what I do, but they save a lot of time. For other people, they find that it's just easier for them. It makes their life easier to do it. So you always want to try and figure out what are the different benefits I delivered, and then put those down so that somebody looking at those testimonials can see a benefit that they're interested in and pick that out. So that you don't want them all saying the same thing if you can avoid it. Now, the next thing is, and this is important, they must be believable. So people know how people talk, right?
Yeah.
And often on the internet, and I hear this all the time when I talk to clients, and we'll talk about this in number 4, or in this little number 3 here, is that people will say, well, Sally in North Bay said, and then it's all like, okay. So the dirty little secret with testimonials is this: they have to be believable and they have to be attributable. So I have to be able to pick up a phone if I want to, as a potential customer of yours, and actually call that person and say, did you say this, or did he do this result, whatever,
Right.
because that's what makes it real. And the thinking is, and it makes perfect sense, is that, well, geez, if the guy's going to put a way for me to identify who said that, he knows I could call them or email them or contact them in some way and find out if they actually said it. He wouldn't put it on there if it wasn't true. Whereas if you just see Joe from, Michigan or, something like that, well, everybody knows that's fake. And if it isn't fake, then you don't know what you're doing, because that's not the way to present it. So always have it attributable so somebody can contact that person. And here's the best part. I swear to God, I think in 15 years, I've had like one person actually call somebody and say, did he do this? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to take the time to do it. It's the power in their mind that they could do it.
Yeah.
That makes the testimonial convincing.
I know in certain cases I have clients who are worried about competitors stealing their clients. And so what I suggest then is, if you can't put in the person's name, is if it's like a big corporation like, Ontario Hydro, you can put in the job title and the company, and it's a good compromise when, if you don't, or first, some government agency says, oh, I can't say that officially. So it's one way to get over that.
Right. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about how to go about getting these, because that's a great point. There's a lot of reasons why we might not want to identify our clients or whatever. But if you don't figure out a way to do it, or you don't get over that, as I say, most people don't really care. They just want to know that you could do this and you did it with that particular person. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but it is a great point. And I'll speak to it in the second part of this, because I had a very unique client one time down in the US. He was a plastic surgeon.
Ooh, oh God. No, his clients do not want to be identified.
You can imagine the issues there in terms of not wanting to be identified. So we did find a way around it. I'll mention it.
Oh, good. That sounds intriguing. I can't wait for that.
Little part. We came up with a rather unique way.
Oh, good.
And last, they must be targeted to your audience. And this kind of speaks a little bit to what I was saying is, try and mix it up a little bit about the different benefits you deliver, whether you make people more money, save them time, make their life easier, but make sure that it's something they can actually use, and and always make sure it's not potentially offensive to somebody. So always be specific, one benefit. Make sure it's believable and not sort of contrived or made up, and make sure it's of value to your audience.
That sounds great. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move on here to this little section. Ooh. So how do you go about getting them? Okay. So this is a little guide I wrote. This is from a blog post I wrote years ago, but it's still fantastic because it really helps you, and it helps your client give you something meaningful.
Got it.
So you can do this either on the phone or via email. The idea is like a little question, customer feedback, I call it. It's like a little survey. Now, when we're going through this, put yourself in the shoes of the person being asked for the testimonial, as opposed to just saying, hey, can you write me a testimonial, which leaves them in a state where they have no idea what to write beyond, hey, listen, really great person, and all that stuff. That's absolutely useless to you in terms of selling your services and the benefits you offer. So the first question is, why did you purchase whatever it was? And this often will get the customer talking or reflecting on the problem that they were having at that time, right? So you send that to them. I've used this before, and sometimes you get everything answered. Sometimes you get partial answers. but it does shape their thinking. And as you see, you'll get some real meat out of this most of the time. So why did you purchase it? That gives some insight into what problem the person was solving, and it could very well fit into the testimonial. When I first talked to Patti, I was really suffering from stage fright when it came to prospecting, whatever it happens to do. So that's a nice little setup for the testimonial. So what 3 things do you like most about whatever the product or service is? This forces the prospect, the client at this time, to really think about the benefit that they got from the service. Now they will start thinking about it in those terms, and you'll notice it's all about what they're buying, because we could be buying for different reasons, and you know that very well. People they could buy the same thing, but they're buying it for a totally different reason. So this basically gets them to just jot down, what those 3 items are. So they don't have to write a testimonial. They don't have to think about how to say, hey, the guy saved me time. The guy made life easier for me, and it was more understandable, whatever. Or I got a lot of confidence.
I was going to say, and it could be just one big thing,
Yes.
I was in a rush and I needed a new website and I needed copy and I just needed it now. And Gerry,
yes,
again, it could be, and that's even more powerful. I would
absolutely.
Say. Bang, he saved the day, and that's da-da-da-da.
That's a great point. And just because we're asking for 3, that's a great point, because you may just pick one point, right? Because some of the other ones may spill over into all the testimonials you get. So if somebody does say exactly that, hey, listen, I had 2 weeks to get a new website up and running. This guy delivered, whatever it happens to be. You're right. That could be very powerful and very important to somebody, that's reading it. So what, in your opinion, is the strongest feature of the product or service that was delivered? This gets them to zero in a very easy way on what it meant to them. Back to your point a minute ago. Like I was dreading this because so many people are, I've heard so many horror stories about web designers and everything like that. And this guy made me feel confident, and took care of everything, whatever it happens to be. So you get really to hammer home that point.
I was to say the answer to that is really part of your value proposition, right? Because that they're saying to you, this is the value I got out of working with you. And that is like, this stuff is like gold for so many reasons, not just.
Absolutely. That's a great point, because you want to really pay attention to this, because, and then go back and take a look at your copy on your website or your copy in your emails. Are you selling what people are buying? So this gets you out of that you're selling stuff kind of frame of mind to selling very tangible, meaningful benefits to your customers.
Right. Very good.
So the next one is, how has the whatever it was saved you time, money, or frustration? Okay, so this gets you to go a little deeper, and it prompts the client or the customer to think a little bit more. Did this save me? I was frustrated before. This really helped out. They'll pick one or two of these things possibly and expand on it. But what's happening during this process is you are leading them as to what to say and getting them to talk specifically about how you made life better for them. And that's the real power of something like this, is you're guiding them. You're not putting words in their mouth or anything like that, but you're getting them to think in a way that's going to be beneficial to you when it comes time to retell the story as to what it is you're doing for your clients.
I was going to say, it kind of leads into identifying who they might be able to refer you to.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Very, very important. That's brilliant. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, this might seem at first blush like a an odd thing to ask. But again, remember, you're doing research, right? You want to know if you're misstepping somewhere, and maybe, like we all are in love with our businesses, right? It's very hard. We've looked at them for so long.
It's called a blind spot for a reason.
There you go.
Can't see it, right?
I may have a couple myself. I think I alluded to one earlier before we started today. Yes, we all have our blind spots. So a client it's like a young child. You ask a young child a question, you will get an unfiltered answer in many cases. And clients don't often get, they will be thinking as they go through your process, whatever it is. Boy, that I wish I didn't have to do that, but everything else outweighs all of the other.
Right.
So this is where you might get somebody to say, is there anything I'd like to see change? Well, if you did this, it would be a little easier to understand if you offered a guidebook or something on, or a little background, or, whatever it happens to be. You never know what you're going to get from this, but it gives them an opportunity to say it was fantastic, because obviously it was, right?
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't be a client, but it also gives them an opportunity to make you better.
Yeah. Right.
And last but not least, this is the most important part of this here, is what you're going to do when you get all of the answers to these questions. You, the marketer, are going to write the testimonial using this content. So you are not doing anything unethical. You are using the customer's own words. And then what you're going to do is you are going to present it back to the client or customer and say, have I got this right? Is it okay to use this for marketing purposes?
Yeah.
And that gives they can clarify something if you went over the top, but you're not really trying to. You are using their words. They can clarify something. They could add something. They could give you something even more powerful, because they've now had time to think about it a little bit and say, oh, I'm reading what you wrote, but you didn't mention this. That was really important. So it's an opportunity for discussion, but most important is you want them to say, yes, go ahead and use it on your website, or go ahead and use it in your promotional efforts.
Yeah, I mean, most happy clients are happy to brag about, hey, using, I know even for solopreneurs, the fact that they can afford a sales coach is kind of like a status symbol in a way. It's like, they're investing in themselves. They're saying, hey, I got benefit out of this. They want to talk about, past clients are your best source of future clients too.
Yeah.
And I think part of this is getting people to think, hey, so who else do you know with these concerns and these issues that, because, birds of a feather flock together, right? So it's like, you're bound to have some colleagues and go, hey, you know what, Joe, he's got some sales issues, is being resistant, but maybe I could, now that I've thought about it and see the benefit I get, and you've increased my sales by 50%, I'm going to talk to him,
Yes, good point. And that's a kind of a byproduct of using this kind of a questionnaire, is it does get them thinking, because often they go, okay, that's all done with, I paid them, and it's on to the next thing. But they sometimes don't even realize the value they did get. And this helps them articulate it, not only in their own minds, but to somebody else, right? As they're thinking about it. And then you ask them that question about, is there somebody else that might benefit? They're very clear on how it helped them, as opposed to, no, it was a really good experience.
That's right. And then, I mean, if I have had a good experience and I can actually quantify, it's like, sure, I'm going to recommend Gerry. It's like, if I need to get any copy written, like, he's the go-to guy because he did this and this for me. So it kind of, because when you're given a referral, it's like your credibility is on the line too, right?
Definitely.
So you want to be, sure that the person is worthy. But if you've confirmed it through this process, it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer,
Exactly.
Great.
So that's it on the testimonials. The thing is, make sure that they meet those first those characteristics we talked about at the get-go, and then as far as going, you can relax now because you've got a little system, and you could easily put this in an email. All you really have to do is just take out. You could copy this and just basically take out the lower font copy below each
Yeah.
question, and
Yeah.
you basically got your little questionnaire already. You can, you put your name, your product in, of course, and you can change them a little bit, but stay true to this because this is what is going to elicit the kind of information you want for strong editorials. And I mentioned to you about the plastic surgeon earlier. For obvious reasons, we couldn't get too many people to volunteer their name and contact information on his site. But what we did do is we had a little, I think it was a little box we created or something, and it just said, if you would like to speak to any of Dr. So-and-so's patients, please click here or phone here, and we will be happy to put you in touch.
Right. Yeah.
With some of the, and no, of course, he had asked, 3 or 4 patients if they wouldn't mind talking to someone. So that was a way around it, and a little creative, but there will be some times. But for the most part, people are going to be quite agreeable to being, having their testimonials used, and this will help you get some real valuable information that you can use to market your product or service.
Yeah. And the other thing is you can encourage people either do it in writing or do a video, whatever's easier for you. I mean,
Yes.
video right now, video is so hot. And people, I guess I'm not one of them, but people like watching videos. I'm a reader, a scanner, but so, if they do a video, you can always do a transcript and then take out the nuggets, right? So if
Yes.
you've got like a web page on prospecting, and you can give take a sentence out of their testimonial and stick it there. And if they got something about closing, you stick it over there, so you can break it up and use it, the bits and bytes. I personally, I like 1 or 2 sentence testimonials because the big fonts, I don't know, might look impressive, but who reads it?
Well, when you think about it, really, what is the purpose of a testimonial? It's to provide safe harbor for the prospect, right? They just want to make sure they're not going to get ripped off and that you can do what you say you're going to do. And you telling them you can is just not going to cut it.
No.
So really, it's just in the legal profession, they talk about having a preponderance of proof.
Okay.
It doesn't mean they're going to use it all. It just means they have it all. So you could have like 25 testimonials,
Yeah.
right? And pick your best 3 because people, after they read 3, they've read them all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So if if they see 3 people that are willing to put themselves out there, whether it's on a video or it's in print, and say that's all they need. It's not like they're there to read all your testimonials. They'd rather not read any. They'd rather have somebody say you're the most honest. One authoritative person saying Patti's the honest person going. They'd rather just have that. That's all they need, right?
That's right. That's
They're
right.
just looking for validation that you can do what you say you
Yeah.
do, and it's not you or a family member saying it.
Yeah, I know. And it's like Patty's proof that you don't have to be sleazy and manipulative in order to sell much, right? I mean, that's sort of my thing is that you can be nice, you can be open and honest and just have
Yeah.
fun, and just have a conversation. And when people realize that, it's just like, oh, wow. I mean, I was talking to one of my students yesterday, and it's opened up his eyes that sales is pretty exciting, actually. It's a fun job. It's very lucrative. It's got a lot of freedom to it. And it's like, wow. And you don't have to be that aggressive, sleaze baggy, used car salesperson kind of thing. That's not what it's about. It's about talking and relating to people. And if you're in B2B sales, it's very much relationship based. And who doesn't want a new relationship in their life, right? Even if it's just, a business bestie, as sounds good, but
Yeah, it's a good point. And one of the things that I always talk to my clients about is the sales and marketing strategies I use and the copywriting approaches. they're almost disappointed to learn like they've been around forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I know. I know.
mean, it's like, sorry, this isn't Snapchat. It's not TikTok and all that stuff. Those are all channels and everything. But
Yeah.
the basic fundamentals of selling and marketing have been around
Hasn't
forever.
changed. I know, it's
Right?
just the tech tools we use to get the message across. But
Absolutely.
we're still selling one person to one person.
Absolutely.
Or by committee, but still, it's still a very much a people skill. Whether it's, talking to somebody in Australia over Zoom, it's still, it just makes the world a small place. That's
No
for
question.
sure. Well, thanks, Gerry. It's been really informative. Testimonials are your key. It's your street credibility, right? It's the proof that you've done it before for somebody else. Not many people like to be pioneers. They want to know you've helped others, and that's your proof. And
There you go.
more business. So till next week, we'll see you around. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Bye.